This is the new released Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6. Let's find out what the little brother of the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6 can do. Now, of course, when it comes to the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6, there are definitely some differences between these two. Like, for instance, missing a camera, the periscope itself, but also the smaller form factor, and of course some sacrifices when it comes to the camera hardware, and of course just the general setup of the phone itself. But overall, this could still be a really compelling package. And one thing that it lacks compared to the big brother is a macro mode. Realistically, the macro isn't, the telemacro isn't that great on said Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6, but we're going to discuss that in that video for it. But still, you can capture some nice shots. Of course, quick controls for the brightness and the sharpness, and the hue of it. It's in the Kelvin. Here you can, of course, make it warmer or colder. Go for a little bit balanced or sometimes a little bit warmer, which gives you a bit more yellow in the shot itself. Now, where zoom would really help is in shots like this. So I'm trying to get a contrast between this gate and of course those red flowers. So what I'm doing is creating said contrast. But it lacks zoom. And also I noticed that reds are definitely not the greatest color, but a lot of phones struggle with that. So here, for instance, of course you get like flowers. You can take a shot of the flower itself, but this is how I normally try to approach it. One, I use a zoom. Now again, with the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6, it's a little bit difficult, but what I like to do is create a contrast between these two. Those are contradicting colors and it really makes the flower pop. You can also create like a blur with this in front of it. So what I try to do is create a shot like this, really get that flower in there and create the contrast in the shot, but also the depth of field in it. So your focus is really on the flower itself. That doesn't mean that you only have that contrast effect with flowers. You can also do it with, for instance, this seat right here, this bench, and then this petrol station. That is just very random. Go a little bit lower so you get a blur of that, and take the shot. Here again, a good contrast. I like the bit older style building. It up. It's a bit bright in the back, and we'll adjust for that after the point of view. What of course is a miss when it comes to the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6 is no Pro mode. The question is, would you want it on the phone like this? That's something you should decide. One of the biggest things that I've noticed using the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6 is that autofocus isn't the greatest, especially when the subject is close to you. That's where it can struggle when it comes to photography. Here, another good subject. Just a little bit lower. Get a little bit of that depth in there. If you can, it's in the background. Use a 2x zoom. It just gives that picture a little bit more. And here, what I would do is try to create like a shot where I look through this part of the gate and I focus on the flower itself. But I will say what I've noticed when it comes to the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6 is that it does love to be quite bright. So I would definitely advise going into this, turning down the brightness quite a bit, because it does go for more of the bright shot compared to a lot of phones. Well, more compared to the Sony Xperia 1 Mark 6. Here again, what I get is like, let me see, just use this. So you see right here, I have a lot of shadow on this side. Sun is hitting that flower at parts of it, but also parts are in the shadow. What you can do is really nice effect. Though I will say, if you see, it's fully outblown, but we'll do a shot separate with me controlling that properly with the brightness itself. But you can create some really nice contrast with it, doing so with this kind of placement. Although I will say by default, as you can see, definitely is blown out in terms of details. Ultraviolet isn't a sensor that I use very often, but there are situations where I'm really happy that I have it. So right here, right, you see this single leaf right here. The moss around it just creates such a cool illusion. So what I'm going to do is capture it like this, get close to the trunk itself, again creating some depth in the shot, and take the picture. That's nice, I like that. Something you can do when it comes to this Sony is of course change the styles. So I often go for a more natural look. You can go around with vivid, of course, film, and some other options that you have in here. It also showcases a little bit where you want them. For instance, with this kind of stuff, we have a lot of colors. You can play around with it and just get that little feel that I really like. When it comes to video recording, 4K 30 frames per second max with the main sensor. You don't have that option with the ultra-wide. I feel like video definitely it's struggling because the sky itself is just not visible. Where it is, of course, reality like that. There you go. Just tap on it and then it's much better. But it keeps it. I don't know, the rest kinda dark. So camera performance in terms of video, not the greatest. Full HD, you can record with ultra wide. Again, doesn't look very pleasing. There we go, bit of sky, but a lot of overblown details. Can look cool though. Of course, these are my first impressions of the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6. I think it's decently capable, but there are some limitations. You don't have Pro mode, you don't have telemacro, which is logical because you don't have telephoto. But when it comes to the camera capabilities, it depends a little bit on what you're looking for when it comes to this Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6. It struggles a little bit with reds and getting the right balance of color, and that's something to keep in mind when it comes to this. You need to play around a little bit more. I do like the quick control of the brightness, but also of course the warmth and the coolness of the shot itself. I gotta need to use it longer to give you a really proper impression, but I already kind of like some parts of it. The form factor is really nice in the hand as well, and of course you do have a 3.5mm headphone jack. Lovely, that's a win for me. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this first impression of the Sony Xperia 10 Mark 6. So here, and you aren't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Of course, let me know in the comments below what you think about it.